you kind of made reference to feminism previously. Now, as it's commonly in terms of the most modern or most accurate dictionary, or if you ask any rational feminist, they would say it's just about equal rights. Can you name anything that currently women are dealing with that, from your perspective, as someone I consider to be rational or objective, is there anything that women are suffering by that they don't currently have in relation to rights, compared to
No,
men?
no, no,
Nothing.
no. I actually would argue that females got more rights than men today, to be
Wow.
honest. Um, and and I would even argue against that definition that feminism was about equality, because what we don't talk about is we talk about feminism like kind of at the tail end, like the third and fourth waves of feminism, like around the 50s and the 60s. But
Mm,
what a lot of people don't know about is feminism. The idea of feminism and women's rights actually started in 1848 at the first Women's Rights Convention in Seneca Falls, New York.
Talk to
And
us.
that started, so it was a lady named Elizabeth Cady Stanton. That's who I would call the godmother of feminism.
Mm,
And Elizabeth Cady Stanton, she came from a pro slavery family. Her father was a lawyer. I believe her mother had came from, family and antebellum slavery, that type of thing. So they were pro slavery. And Elizabeth, she had, I think it was like 11 or 12 of them. And all of the brothers died before they had even reached adulthood. So it's
goodness.
not funny. So all of the brothers died before they reached adulthood. Now, that's important because her father was basically like devastated and upset about that, because as a man, okay, if you don't have no sons, you don't have nobody to carry on your legacy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And back in that time, if they're pro slavery, you don't have nobody to pass the slaves to and keep that going. So he to her shared a sentiment, of sadness or whatever, that he didn't have no more sons. So she internalized that. Elizabeth Cady Stanton internalized that and was like, you know what? I'm gonna do anything a man can do. And that's where the idea of I want to be like a man started. And so Elizabeth Cady Stanton, came from a pro slavery family and got with a man. I forgot what her husband's name was, but his last name was Stanton, James Stanton, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And he was actually a Quaker and an abolitionist. And they got together. It's like the tale of two cities. Wait, you a pro slavery, but then you an
Yeah.
abolitionist? So they
Love is
actually got
irrational.
together.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. So they actually celebrated their honeymoon in 1840. They went,
Mm-hmm.
it was called the World Anti-Slavery Convention in London. So he was going to go to the convention, but it doubled as their honeymoon.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, it's 1840. They go to this convention. She can't get in because she's a woman. Then
Right.
they said, okay, well, we'll let her in, but she can't vote, or, she can't really speak on this. Now, instead of her just, succeeding and saying, all right, cool, I'm going to just, chill back because I'm just here for support for my husband anyway, she basically threw a hissy fit and got upset and caused a big scene because she couldn't get in, or because she couldn't participate. And so when she went back to America, she like, okay, I'm gonna do something about this because it's just not fair. It's just not fair that I couldn't participate because I'm a woman, even though it was it was an anti-slavery convention. She comes back to America and make it being about a woman. So
Mm-hmm.
then another woman named Lucretia Mott that she met at the convention, she was also a Quaker. And Lucretia Mott had some other women that she would have a tea party with. These women were all Quakers. And to a degree, the Quakers, they were abolitionists. So they were trying to abolish slavery. But when they invited Elizabeth to their tea party one day, Elizabeth was like, well, F slavery, we women, we need to fight for our rights. We women, we
Right.
we got to do this. And so
Mm-hmm.
they basically, at the end of their tea party, they had put together a whole convention that kind of mirrored the convention that they left 8 years earlier. And they had the first women's rights convention in Seneca Falls in 1848, where they discussed their sentiments and grievances and what they wanted to see happen for them as women in 1848. And their Declaration of Sentiments actually mirrored the Declaration of Independence that
Mm-hmm.
was, still being drafted and put together, trying to get Black people rights and get them unenslaved. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's actually the start of feminism. So in my opinion, it wasn't ever about equality. It was kind of about entitlement, because here it was, a
Mm-hmm.
woman who, came from a well-to-do family, and then she ended up getting with a man who clearly didn't have the same values as she had, and she kind of um, tainted his, or tainted what he had going on, and the other women that she ended up meeting with, she kind of tainted their purpose or whatever they were doing, and made it kind of about her. Because then
Mm-hmm.
she compared being a wife and a mother to slavery. She was upset that she had to take care of her husband and her children because her husband ended up getting sick and things like that. So she basically compared being a wife and a mother to slavery. And if you
Goodness.
think about today, I'm not cooking, I'm not cleaning, I'm not about to just be. That's where that idea and that's where that mindset comes from. So
Goodness.
yeah, like that's why I don't believe in feminism, and I don't even believe that it was a fight for equality, because the woman who championed for this and made it go, her mindset wasn't about trying to be equal to a man. She was basically internalizing something that her dad said to her and made it about her.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
That's
that's
crazy.
what a lot of people don't know about feminism. I actually did a video about this on one of my little very few videos I got on YouTube. But yeah, that was one of my videos I did talking about that, because we don't know, and I didn't know about that either. I mean, I had to do some
Yeah.
digging, and I'm like, where did this come from? So
And
yeah,
by
I'm
the way,
sorry.
her channel will be plugged in the title of this video. But yeah, that's definitely interesting. I mean, history. It's my belief that history is a study of perception, and that the further you go back, the more you're deceived. Mainly because it's more and more of storytelling that you have to kind of figure out the facts and what's actually true versus what people added to the story to make it more interesting, or what people took
Right.
out to make it more believable. Um, and so you're always struggling with perception of the first person who witnessed it, who lived it, and then they tell a story, and the fish story may or may not apply. Then the person that heard it, they heard what they wanted to hear, or they heard what they did hear, and then they reinterpreted it and say, well, that's what I think they meant, and they wrote it down,
Right.
or they told somebody. And you add thousands of years to that, and you end up to today where someone believes something based on what they think happened, what somebody told them, and you end up with all this misinformation.